Elon Musk is now officially the new owner of Twitter. After spending $44 billion on the social media platform, he has some new ideas on what to change about the company. Let's take a look at what he says.
I think it's very important for there to be an inclusive arena for free speech.
Now that Elon Musk is Twitter's new owner, what changes will actually take place? Musk gave some clues back on April the 14th.
Open source the algorithm and make any changes to people's tweets. If they're emphasized or de-emphasized, that action should be made apparent.
Musk says there will be no behind-the-scenes manipulation this way.
Most algorithms are the secret sauce of a company.
Scott Schober is the author of Cybersecurity is Everybody's Business. Schober says algorithms are instructions that the computer program uses to sort the content in your feed. Schober says there could be downsides to making it public.
Other social media giants can quickly look at that and try to copy that same type of algorithm to their advantage, and it could break down the competition.
Musk says the code could be posted to GitHub, where people should be able to look at the code, comment on it, and suggest changes.
Why are some people reaching 5% of their audience, some people reaching 50% of their audience?
Jeff Brain is the CEO of social platform CloutHub. Brain says the algorithm should be open and that his own platform doesn't use an algorithm. Musk also brought up having an edit feature.
But you'd only have the edit capability for a short period of time.
This way, there will be fewer people retweeting tweets before they've been changed.
Maybe a 60-second window where you posted something and then you look at it and it's like, oh no, I have this typo here. What do I do?
Jeremy Knopf is the founder of Spartan Media. Knopf says this also prevents people from changing history. And finally, another priority is
eliminating the spam and scam bots. And the bot armies that are on Twitter.
Spam bots are computer programs that post on Twitter, pretending to be real people. Jeremy Knopf, founder of Spartan Media, says Twitter has not done a good job of destroying them.
Combating spam bots is an incredibly difficult process. What you have to do is you have to basically leverage big data and artificial intelligence to evaluate what they're doing. Musk already has a team in place. They've already got the background. They're using AI extensively in SpaceX and Tesla.
Twitter announced the deal was final Monday afternoon. Faye Quarter, NTD News.
Over the weekend, thousands of people throughout the world came together to honor the 23rd anniversary of a little-known but widely significant event. NTD's David Lam brings us how that day changed one young woman's life.
Hundreds of people gathered in silence and remembrance for the 23rd anniversary of an event that changed their lives.
I'm stunned. I'm stunned to the point to where I'm kind of feeling very tiny right now.
Over the weekend, Crystal Liu, one of the hundreds of people gathering in San Francisco, came out in remembrance of April 25th, 1999. That was the day when believers of Falun Gong asked the ruling communist regime in China to allow them to peacefully pursue their faith.
I think courage and belief can lead my way, so I should stick to my faith.
But instead, that day set into motion events that were worse than anyone could have expected.
My mom was persecuted when I was very young, in middle school, and many times she was put into the jail and brainwashed, forced to be brainwashed.
The Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, began one of the harshest persecutions in history. To this day, it uses the military, police, media, and medical field to slander the belief and kill the faithful.
Falun Dafa is not like the CCP says. When I was very young, just about the persecution, the beginning of the persecution, I wrote a letter to the policeman.
As a child, all Crystal wanted to do was protect her mom and tell the truth. But even as a child, she was nearly arrested.
But they came to my home and wanted to take me to the police station. I feel very scared. My mom, I don't know why writing a letter can be a crime.
Liu was lucky enough to escape the country and practice her faith freely in the United States. The commemoration continued with hundreds of people outside the Chinese consulate to remember those who had died from the regime's persecution. Falun Gong believers all over the world held similar ceremonies, exposing the CCP's crimes.
I think more people should be upset about it than what are. It's not one of the things we don't have to deal with it over here. It's in another country. It's not our problem. This should be everybody's problem.
While the CCP continues to slander, harm, and kill innocent people, Crystal and other Falun Gong practitioners alike will continue to expose the regime's crimes. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
Despite how moving that story was, California officials may not have got to hear it yet. That's because California is continuing its partnership with China, joining the communist country in its alleged climate goals. The governor renewed a 4-year agreement with one of China's ministries, but the FBI previously warned against a counterintelligence threat from China's government. NTD's David Lamb reports.
Governor Gavin Newsom and China's Minister of Ecology and Environment renewed a working agreement on climate change and the environment last week. Newsom and Huang Runqiu signed the Memorandum of Understanding in a virtual meeting. The governor says the agreement deepens the state's climate and clean energy ties with China and will continue to collaborate with others around the globe. The 4-year agreement states that China's Ministry of Ecology and Environment intend to work on a number of climate goals, including to mitigate carbon emissions and also other mutually agreed activities. The MOU also says that both parties attempt to reach carbon neutrality within 20 to 40 years. China is the world's largest climate polluter and has shown no sign of decreasing. According to a report by the Global Energy Monitor, in 2020, China built over 3 times as much new coal power capacity as all other countries in the world combined, the equivalent of more than 1 large coal plant per week. The previous working agreement was signed by former Governor Jerry Brown in 2018. According to Newsom's office, the California-China Climate Institute at the UC Berkeley will serve as California's primary liaison for information sharing and communication. But the agreement brings security threats. On March 7th, the FBI released a film saying that the government of China and the Chinese Communist Party are a grave threat to the economic well-being and democratic values of the United States.
Sometime in late January of 2012, we learned that from the victim company that there was stolen software running on the wind turbines in Massachusetts, Sinovel wind turbines.
In one situation, the DOJ alleges that trade secrets from a US-based company were stolen.
Not only did he steal that software and give it to China so that it could be used in China to retrofit thousands of wind turbines in China, there was stolen software running on the wind turbines in the front yard of American Superconductor.
NTD reached out to the California-China Climate Institute and the governor's office. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
A state lawmaker introduced a bill last month to repeal California's sanctuary state laws, but the bill was voted down earlier this week. NTD's Cynthia Kai spoke with Assemblyman about sanctuary state laws and why he introduced the bill in this special report.
Assemblyman Kevin Kiley introduced Assembly Bill 1708 last month in an effort to remove California's sanctuary state law.
The bill would simply say that, if someone is in custody, if they're in the country illegally and they've committed a crime, and the immigration authorities identify this as a person who they think should be a high priority for deportation proceedings, then there should be a line of communication that they could have with law enforcement. That's specifically what the sanctuary state law prevents.
But lawmakers voted down AB 1708 on April 19th. So AB 1708 failed to pass the Public Safety Committee on Tuesday. Were you surprised at all with the committee's vote and results?
Well, sadly, I was not surprised because the Public Safety Committee is exactly the opposite of its name. It has a habit and a record of rejecting common sense public safety measures. Several others it's rejected recently, including one related to Proposition 47. But it was quite unfortunate given that we just had this incredibly tragic incident.
The incident Kiley referred to was the February 28th shooting at a Sacramento church. 39-year-old David Mora killed his 3 daughters and a chaperone before taking his own life. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, later confirmed Mora overstayed his visa and was therefore in the country illegally. Mora was released from prison just a week before the shooting after assaulting a California Highway Patrol officer in Merced County.
ICE asked to be notified of his release, but because of the sanctuary state law, ICE was never notified. And so I've been fighting against the sanctuary state for quite a while since it was introduced, but I had hoped that this recent incident would wake up some of the people at our Capitol and cause them to think differently, but unfortunately that's not what happened.
California became a sanctuary state in 2017 when lawmakers passed Senate Bill 54. The law prevents local law enforcement from contacting ICE about the release of illegal immigrants from jail. It limits the federal agency's ability to deport them after release. Calif said SB 54 was misleadingly touted as favoring immigrants in the state.
Well, yeah, because the only people that the sanctuary state law protects are people who are in the country illegally and who have committed crimes. That's the only group that receives any benefit from the sanctuary state law. So it's not about being, in favor or against immigration or anything like that. It's simply a matter of the rule of law. We're talking about people who not only have been in the country illegally, but have also violated the criminal laws while they've been here. And this is about making sure that those people aren't able to commit more crimes in the future.
He says there are multiple cases in which a person who's in the state illegally committed crimes.
That were involved. There's the Katie Steinle case in San Francisco. So we've seen this happen time and time again. It was utterly predictable. In fact, it was predicted by the State Sheriff's Association when they opposed the sanctuary state law.
During the Tuesday committee meeting, AB 1708 was met with opposition by a speaker with the Asian American Advancing Justice, an immigration rights organization.
This would require state governments to work with ICE, an agency with a long record of systemic abuse, to fill immigration detention centers and carry out mass deportation.
Lee further stated the bill would result in immigrants serving longer sentences in detention centers, but Calif says he believes local and federal law enforcement should be allowed to cooperate.
Well, the best solution is to overturn the sanctuary state law, to secure the border, to retain Title 42, to end sanctuary policies across the country, and to, restore this idea of the rule of law. And we should have, of course, continued pathways for legal immigrants. Legal immigration is very important to our country. Our legal immigrants are a very important part of the fabric of this country, but we can't just continue to have an open border.
In the end, AB 1708 failed in a 2-3 vote, with Assemblyman Tom Lackey and Kelly Sayarto voting in support. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.